The Rams and the Eagles are the next game that we have here that we're talking about. You just went on your point about the Commanders and the Lions. So I'll start this one out with my matchup that matters, and I'm highlighting the Rams defensive line going up against the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. And the reason why I think this is such a big deal is because the Rams' young defensive line was so incredibly impressive this season. Not just the rookies like Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, but also you throw the second year guys in there. Kobe Turner was getting into the backfield consistently. Byron Young, it felt like those two guys, they were calling their names out basically every other play during the first and second quarters because of how much they were dominating. But that defensive line that's playing with a lot of confidence, the defensive line, that pass rush was actually the best pass rush of any team in the wild card round at a 78.2 overall pass rush grade. They had 9 sacks, 44 combined pressures against the Vikings offensive line, and a 58.5 pass rush win percentage. So they are feeling themselves going into this game, believing that they can go up against any offensive line. Well, your wish is granted because you're going up against the best one. You're going up against the best offensive line in the NFL in the Philadelphia Eagles, who have just absolute studs up front, and especially those two guys on the offensive tackle spots. I cannot wait to see Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata against Jared Verse and Byron Young, because again, those are two dudes that are feeling it. They're feeling it right
Okay.
now. They're on a hot streak, and the Eagles offensive line, they won the award for PFF's best offensive line this season for a lot of good reasons within their statistics. But even last week, when they were playing against the Green Bay Packers, I understand the Green Bay Packers pass rush has been a little bit disappointing this season, but only 9 pressures allowed total. You go a whole playoff game and you only give up 9 pressures. That's insane. Again, just to give you a little bit of reference, the Rams got 44 collective pressures as a team. They both played 60 minutes. It's the same thing. It's a 60-minute game. Eagles gave up 9
Yeah,
pressures.
that was.
That's it's just
Yeah, and
unbelievable
even
job.
if that game was a little bit of an outlier though too, like this, the Vikings between Sam Darnold and the offensive line not, getting
Sure,
injured, Brian O'Neill getting injured, all that other
sure.
stuff. But even if you meet somewhere in the middle,
Even
that's
if you go
still,
high
yes,
20s, low 30s,
yes.
that's still
9 is still
9.
extraordinarily impressive.
9 is a different beast, and I think these dudes are going to be absolutely ready for it. So to me, that's the big time matchup that matters, because that was a reason why, make no doubt about it, the Rams were able to be as in control of that game as they were. They do
Yeah.
not have that advantage against the Philadelphia Eagles, certainly not on paper. And if they do end up getting the advantage, holy cow, we're just talking about an unbelievable job by Les Snead and Sean McVay to draft and develop a
Yes.
defensive line that has already impressed this season. Not to take anything away from them, but a great day in Philadelphia this coming week would, I mean, that would take this season to the next level for them. So
It
it's
would.
it's going to be a
And
big
it would
time
be so
challenge for them.
quick too with how young all of those guys are. I mean,
Yeah.
even if they are second year players, it's like, oh, okay, second year and first year players are having this much success this quickly. Pretty incredible stuff when you had to make up for the loss of maybe the best player to ever play football in Aaron Donald.
Hmm.
But I'm going to go to the other side of things for my matchup that matters. And it's something that it's the Eagles' run defense versus Kyren Williams, because Kyren Williams, 4.8 yard per carry average against the Minnesota Vikings. Again, a really stout, what's supposed to be top 5, top 10 rushing defense. 16 carries, 76 yards. And he had the receiving touchdown against Minnesota as well. He was a huge part in rounding out the Rams' offensive attack. And then if you look at how the Eagles did versus Josh Jacobs and the Green Bay Packers, Josh Jacobs had 21 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown. The biggest thing to me that stuck out about that was 98 of those 121 yards came after contact. And you look at the Eagles led all wildcard teams last week in missed tackles versus the run. They had just 2 tackles for loss or a gain against the Green Bay Packers. And that's something that I think that these Rams can exploit with Kyren Williams. I think it's really going to come down to how effectively the Rams can run the ball. I know they have Cooper Kupp and they have Puka Nacua and all of that wonderful stuff, but if you can run the ball against this Eagles run defense, which you might have an opportunity to do based on what we saw last week, I think I like the Rams' chances a lot.
So I do agree with you that I think that the Kyren Williams factor, we talked about it on the show so many weeks, like the Kyren Williams factor of the Rams offense. And we mentioned all the flashy plays. I'm about to talk about Matthew Stafford in a second. You talk about Sean McVay, the genius that he is, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Kyron is just the foundation of this team. How well he is able to play, how effective he is able to be every single week, and defending him, yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's going to be a major X factor in this game. My plus factor is Matthew Stafford, and it's sort of an obvious one, but I think it has to be, and I wanted to say it just to give him recognition. He's When I think of quarterbacks in the NFL right now, he is without question top 5 of guys who I would not want to face in the playoffs. I mean, you have the regular players that are at the top of every single list. It's Joe Burrow, it's Josh Allen, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Patrick Mahomes, but Matthew Stafford is without question number 5, or even, some weeks that you see some performances.
Honestly, he's like your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback. How many times have we heard quarterbacks come out and be like, yeah, dude, like that's my top quarterback, or he's top 2 and not 2. Like,
I'd be terrified to play this dude in the playoffs. Terrified. And I think last week, it was not like he had a 99 overall PFF grade. I mean, he still had a 76.9 passing grade last week against the Vikings, but 2 big-time throws, no turnover-worthy plays, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 68.1 passing grade under pressure, which is really high for a passing grade under pressure. He had that 1 big-time throw under pressure, which was that sideline throw to Cooper Kupp, which is just absolutely magnificent. Again, I would be terrified to play this player in the playoffs, and his combination of when he and McVay are fully focused, playoffs are on the line. I mean, there are sometimes throughout the regular season it feels like Stafford's just a little bit up and down, but when the playoffs roll around, this dude's terrifying. So it makes me feel as though when you look at these two teams on paper, it should be a dub for the Eagles, but it's the coach that the Rams have, and specifically, in my opinion, the quarterback they have that genuinely gives them the chance to march into Philly to get an upset. So to me, Matthew Stafford's the ultimate X factor because of how terrified I would be to play him in the playoffs.
yeah, that actually goes nicely into who my X factor is. And mine's, again, not quite an obvious one. It's pretty hyper specific, but it's linebacker Zach Bond. But linebacker Zach Bond in coverage in particular. This last game versus the Green Bay Packers, half of the time he was in coverage, 35 coverage snaps in that game. Locked his guys up. He allowed just 3 receptions for 38 yards on 7 targets, and he got that interception. But if this is the way that you're going to play as the Eagles defense, he is going to need to be that good again and continue to be that good. I don't think I really loved the way that Philadelphia attacked the Green Bay Packers. They basically sold out on coverage against Green Bay because they have all of those receivers. They committed very minimal resources to the pass rush and instead kind of tried to blanket their receivers. Now, it worked out for the Philadelphia Eagles because both Jayden Reed and Romeo Doubs went down for the Green Bay Packers. But I can't think that if Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are still healthy and finish out this game and do all of the things that we know that they're capable of, I don't like that if the Eagles try to do something like that again, which I could see them again trying to do given how potent this passing attack is and how quickly Matthew Stafford gets the ball out. Maybe you don't think, all right, I can pressure him because, again, he can get rid of the ball. He's not going to be pressured. It's going to be hard to get him on the ground. So then you go towards the coverage unit. And when you're using linebackers, outside linebackers as half of the time in coverage, that just kind of makes it volatile. That's, I think, the best way that I can describe it is it can go really well or it can go really poorly. You do have a coverage unit also that you can rely on. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell is a stud. This last game targeted 6 times as the nearest defender. He allowed just 2 receptions for 10 yards, and he had that interception. Average target separation of 1.6 yards. I mean, these guys can hold down the fort. I'm not really sure why you're ignoring the pass rush, or at least why they did against Green Bay Packers. Now, I don't know if that's the way that they're going to attack the Rams, but I see some similarities with why you would want to do that if you're Philadelphia. And if that's the case, a guy like Zach Bond is going to be absolutely crucial to what you want to do, and doing something that he's not normally trained to do. That's not really what his position entails as being in coverage. But if you're going to use him in coverage that much, he better be just as locked down as he was this last week. And you're not going to have the benefit, or at least I'm not going to put that out there, you're going to have the benefit of having injuries to both receivers and offensive line and the offensive line for the Los Angeles Rams. It was an interesting thing that stuck out.
I know that coverage isn't Zach Bond's forte per se throughout the course of his NFL career to this point, but so he won the award for breakout player for PFF, and I mean, he just excellent, not only as a great pass rusher, but he's even expanded what he can do to be better in coverage this year. So you're right, it's not like his bread and butter, it's not how he's made a name for himself, but I guess it's certainly how he has made a name for himself to stand out as being one of the best linebackers in the NFL this past year. So got himself an interception this past week. We'll see if he can cover those guys and what Sean McVay is going to cook up this weekend for them. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.